a little boy named Owen who lived with his father. One day, while Owen played outside, he had an idea.
What do you want to send Grandpa for his birthday? A giant high five. Do you want to draw a picture of you high-fiving Grandpa? No, I want to send a real high five. I will give the mailman a high five and ask him to send it to Grandpa.
Owen and his father gathered their letters and walked to the post office in town. Soon, they got to the front of the line, and Mr. Nevin called them to his window.
I want to mail a high five to my grandpa. Will you please send it?
Well, we don't normally send high fives, but I suppose we could give it a try.
Owen's father wrote down Grandpa's address for Mr. Nevin. Owen walked behind the counter, raised his hand as high as he could, and gave Mr. Nevin a giant high five. Goes back to Max.
You will have to high five Mrs. Porter then.
Mr. Nevin looked weirdly at Miss Porter as he handed her the mail and the address of Owen's grandpa. He blushed and asked his request to Mrs. Porter.
Here's the high five.
Miss Porter smiled as she sorted the mail. Just then, the driver came to collect the mail on its way for the big city. As the driver lifted the last heavy bag, Miss Porter said,
Leroy, one more thing. Someone is sending a high five to his grandpa. Here's the address, and here's the high five.
Leroy laughed and said,
Now I have never sent a piece of mail like this before.
Later that afternoon, Leroy arrived at the airport. The mail plane was just about to leave. He rushed up to pilot Captain Sam.
Captain, a kid is sending a high five in the mail to his grandpa. Here is the address and here is the high five. Now isn't that a nice way to start the day?
When the plane landed, Captain Sam walked to the airport office. He saw Brian standing next to the mail truck looking sad.
Hello, are you driving a truck to the city? Yes. A high five is being sent in the mail.
Captain Sam raised his arm as high as he could and gave Brian a giant high five. Brian smiled and said,
Thank you.
Brian moved his head to the music as he drove. After unloading the mail, Brian went to find Chad, the driver taking the mail to Grandpa's town.
Chad, a high five is being sent in the mail. Here's the address and here is the high five. Ha ha ha. Isn't that a nice way to start the trade? Ha ha ha. Nice. Do you want to go to the game tonight? Yeah, sounds fun.
Chad was excited about the game that he smiled and hopped into his truck. He drove toward the post office in Grandpa's town. When he got there, he asked the post office supervisor, Mr. Smith, which mail person would be taking the mail to Grandpa.
Mike, but he's not here yet. Please pass this along to him.
Chad raised his arm as high as he could and gave Mr. Smith a giant high five.
A high five is being sent in the mail to a boy's grandpa, and you are the one bringing it to him.
Mr. Smith raised his arm as high as he could and gave Mike a high five.
Grandpa will be surprised.
Mike smiled as he delivered the mail from door to door. He saw Grandpa mowing the yard.
Mr. Bob, I have a special delivery for you. Your grandson has sent you a high five.
Mike raised his hand as high as he could and gave Grandpa a giant high five.
This is the best high five, the best piece of mail I have ever received. Please give my grandson a big hug.
Grandpa opened his arms as wide as he could and gave Mike a big hug.